Prowling the UWM sports scene, this is Panther Prowl, a production of the Broadcasting Club at UWM.
Hello, and welcome to Panther Prowl. I'm Isabel Hernadez, and today we're going to be discussing everything to do with sports and the advantages of being bilingual. I would also like to touch base a little bit about how university students can take advantage of such opportunities. And today with us, we have Andy Olivares. Andy, tell us a little bit more of what it is that you do for Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in terms of sports.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, Isabel. It's really a pleasure to be with you. And obviously, the university has a culture where sports it's really central to everything you do. So we're very involved in the community. We do play-by-play for different professional franchises. We have the luxury here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that we have not one, not two, but several sports franchises, despite the fact that we're not in a very large market. So we do play-by-play in Spanish for the Brewers. We do selected games for the Packers. And we also work with some of the universities, such as Marquette University, and do some box games as well.
So now that we know that you cover pretty much everything, local sports for sure, how did you get such opportunities?
Yeah, well, it is a very good question. I appreciate you asking. It comes down to work. Obviously, you have to prepare. You have to, take the time to really get ready. And opportunities will come, but sometimes you're not ready for them. Okay. So what it comes down to is you have to prepare. You have to work very hard, and you have to make sure that what you do, you develop your own style, so that when those opportunities come, people look at you, be it an interview, be it an audition, so you can actually separate yourself from the competition.
Well, that's actually really good advice, but here's something that I'm also interested in. Walk us through a day and in a show that it is that we know you have. It's called En la Jugada, that I know it's on ESPN Deportes 1510 AM. How does one prepare for such a show, and what does it entail for the Hispanic community? Well,
it's a very challenging show, and by the way, thank you for being part of it. Your segment, En la Calle, which is obviously you bring some of the things happening in the sports arena at a community level to the show, so I thank you for that. But coming back to your question, the way you prepare for it, first of all, you have to have the dedication, you have to have the discipline to learn and read, be on top of what's going on, see the games, you have to read, learn about the players, learn about the different leagues. So because this is a show of variety, and when I say variety, you have to really take it literally. Yes. And think of a community that is so diverse and large, culturally speaking. I mean, you have the Mexican community, which is more than 70%, as you know, right. That would follow soccer. You have folks who love baseball. You have folks who love basketball, and obviously the Packers are there too. So you have to really be multi-dimensional and not just focus on one sport. So it takes a lot of preparation, it takes a lot of reading, but it also comes naturally as you get involved. Over time, you get good at it. You know how to extract the substance, what people really would care about, and then you bring it to the show.
And what I think is really lovely about the show is that you have callers. And how do you take it when, like, they're arguing or not agreeing with the comments that you're giving for the day, or they don't agree with the type of work that you're doing? They want you to cover more, for example, soccer instead of baseball, because we know that you love baseball and this is your passion, if I'm correct.
Yeah, growing up in the Dominican Republic, obviously baseball it's all we do, and I always tell people that's all we do. And so we can go back in history and talk about some of the big arms, some of the good big pitchers like Juan Marichal. We can talk about so many different things when it comes to baseball. But it is true, and during the last show, last Saturday, I got a couple of folks on Facebook saying, hey, what's going on? You're talking about soccer, why no more baseball? And I said, well, call me. Let's talk about it. Let's do it. I mean, we don't have any preference. What dictates what we cover most is really you. you the listener. So I want your phone calls, and I want you to get involved. And we do cover baseball, especially now that we're going through this such an interesting World Series between the Cards and the Red Sox. And obviously here in Wisconsin, everybody wants the Red Sox to win, because
yes.
the Cards have been awful to us, the Brewers. So, but we try to keep a show that is entertaining, where there is a degree of discussion, but we don't want to let it get out of hand or to be disrespectful to any group, to anybody. So
I agree with that. And for example, we know that you have the weekend show. We also know that you cover play-by-play for the Brewers in Spanish. What's that like? I mean, how's your audience, and what feedback have you received from the Hispanic community in regards to this particular play-by-play?
For the Hispanic community, I would say it's really an honor to live in this state, in this city, and to have, say, the Brewers in Telemundo, such a strong desire to bring good quality broadcasting in Spanish for all the Latinos in this community is really awesome, and we're so thankful to them. It has a lot to do with identity. You know, the fact that you can bring the broadcast in Spanish, in my own language, and I'm going to sit down on TV and watch it. It has to do with identity. In other words, you're saying, you know what, you belong. And so people really appreciate it, and they feel it's part of the assimilation, it's part of the adaptation to the culture within the larger scheme of things.
I think that you have a really nice human connection, a nice human element, and people are easily connecting to you.
Thank you.
They communicate with you through Facebook, through Twitter, LinkedIn, and a lot of people that call in always say, "Hey, Andy, thank you so much for having me on the show. I like this," but they're also they also are comfortable enough to let you know what their dislikes are, and I think that that's wonderful. And another thing that I think is a wonderful thing here is that you're able to merge both ESPN and Telemundo when you do the play-by-play. You know, it's really nice to see a merger of these two industries, of these two particular companies, merging together in order to deliver to the Hispanic community. So, what is your opinion on having this merger when it comes to working with you? I don't see that often, but I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, typically when it comes to the media and the different outlets, there's competition.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the industry, just like any other industry, is moved by money.
Yeah.
So there's competition. But in this case, we thought, you know what, we are going to the same community, we're working with the Latino community, we're doing the radio, the broadcast, and Telemundo is doing their telecast on Sundays. Why don't we come together and do it together? And bring the product, bring the same voice, and have that, identity as a group, and make it work. And you know what, we're doing it. It's been 2 years since we did it. Now we're going into the 3rd year next season, and very well received. And people love it. It's been really a complete success, to be honest with you, from every angle. I mean, when it comes to sales, the way people have perceived and received the work that we're doing. And you talked a little bit about the human connection that people have with the on-air personalities. But I have to tell you, as you can see in the studio here, there's so many people behind what you do. You're just the face of people see, and they connect with you. But again, when we're doing the show, you yourself involved, making it happen behind the scenes. I'm talking about in La Jugada Saturdays, and here you see all these wonderful, talented young people making this show happen. So it's something important for you as the on-air personality to understand that it's not all about you, that
Correct.
It's really about a lot of people, and there's a lot going on, and you're just the mouthpiece that's really showing, that work.
Yeah, and I always say that, teamwork makes the dream work. So I actually stand by that, and I think that when you work together, you get more accomplished. But now, going on to talk about something fun and interesting, I know that you also interview the Brewers players one-on-one. Tell us a little bit more. These interviews, of course, are held in the locker rooms. And there's some connection that we know that you have the Hispanic players in particular. Like they feel comfortable talking with you, they have that connection with you. Can you elaborate a little bit more about how you manage to get to that comfort level with them?
Yeah, I think as a broadcaster, you have to have a balance between what's professional and establish some boundaries, but at the same time, you need to have a level of closeness, a safe distance, in order to be effective at what you do. And I think it starts with honesty and professionalism. So, for instance, we had the incident of Giovanni Gallardo when. Again, we don't want to go back to that situation, but we know what happened. He was in a DUI situation, and certain reporter from the area went straight to the Brewers media relations and said, hey, you know, I need an interview with Giovanni Gallardo. The community deserves it. We have to have this information. It's the right of people to know, and I need to talk to him. And the answer was no. We're obviously private. We're not a public entity. We are the Milwaukee Brewers, privately owned. We don't have to have you talk to our player. So instead of going that path, I went to Giovanni and I said, hey, you know what? I would like to speak with you, but I'm not here to judge you. I'm a human being just like you are. I'm not saying what you did is right, wrong. I'm going to ask you some questions, and you can tell people what your thoughts about it are. As it turns out, he apologized and admitted that he didn't do the right thing, obviously, and hoped to never do it again. But again, that relationship is fostered over time and on the basis of trust and honesty.
Well, that's wonderful. And, you know, that's just one of the players. We know that there are other players, like where the Braun incident happened.
And we're waiting for him to talk to him.
Do you think you'll be able to get a chance to talk to him? Well, they're telling me he's hiding in California. Is that true?
Well, you know, yes. I think I will get to talk to him. And, you know, the interesting thing is human beings are complex.
Yes.
You know, and we don't want to say it's obviously what he did is wrong and he lied. And there's a lot of people who are upset. And I think at the right time, he'll come and talk to people, talk to the press, and answer every question, etc., etc. But we also have to understand that these people are put on a pedestal and at a very young age, and sometimes it's difficult to deal with all that attention.
Yes.
The expectations that they're going to be not only perfect on the field, but they're going to be perfect in every aspect of their lives. So, yeah, I'm waiting for him to give us the opportunity to talk to him. I want to have an interview one-on-one with him, and I know I'm confident I'm going to get it, again, because of the relationship that we have. I have some great stories about Ryan Braun, how he's helped people. For instance, I was at a restaurant, and I asked this lady, have you ever been to a Brewer game? And she said no. And I asked Ryan, and I said, you know, here's someone who has never been to a Brewer game. Would you mind helping her out? Brought her to the game VIP, and without asking questions. And again, he's a good guy, but he made a terrible mistake, and he's going to have to deal with the consequences. So,
well, you know, I'm really happy you have that connection. Thank you for sharing that with us, and we hope you get that story. Well, it's time to take a break, and we'll be right back with you. So stay tuned with us because we have much, much more to discuss.
It's amazing how many stars there are. You know what's really amazing, Clell, is that recent discoveries within the Orion Nebula lend credence to the theory of a whole other solar system, predating our own, of course, the origins of which remain in microscopic gaseous form, thus increasing the chances of our being alone.
Hello and welcome back to Panther Prowl. I'm Isabel Hernandez and we're continuing talking with Mr. Andy Olivares. Andy, going back to we were talking about the players and how you have a comfort level with them and a really nice relationship with them. What advice could you give a student who perhaps goes out on the field on a first day on such an assignment? How do you get that story, or how do you get that comfort into that comfort zone with athletes?
Yeah, I think when it comes to interviewing and developing relationships, there are certain laws that apply to everybody and that are true in just about every situation. I would say be yourself, be natural, and if you really are interested in that particular athlete, those questions are going to come naturally.
Okay.
So you don't have to push the issue. There are certain things that are of common interest. So obviously when you asked about Ryan Braun earlier,
Yes.
When he comes back, obviously people are going to be interested in many aspects of all the drama that took place over the last 2 years. So, but I would say be yourself, be natural. You are unique. Nobody can, mimic you. So if you just do that and prepare. That's always important, to be prepared. You have some questions ready, but if they're interesting to you, chances are they might be interesting to other people as well.
Agreed. Well, we know that you're bilingual, and you speak
You think
English
so?
and Spanish. I think you are. You
Okay.
speak English and Spanish. Any other languages that we don't know about?
I know a little bit of Italian. At one point, I could speak a few words in French, but I have to say that Spanish is really what I can speak with confidence and forcefully and feel very comfortable with.
Okay. And do you think that this is a good advantage to be bilingual, and especially in the communications industry?
Yeah, obviously there has been some studies out there that demonstrate that when you learn a language, the next one is easier to learn.
Okay.
It does something to your brain. Obviously, we know, and the idea of neuroplasticity, the fact that the brain, the more you stimulate it, the more you can capture, the more you can learn. Now, there is an advantage in a practical sense when it comes to the economic advantages, the ability to go to an interview and say, you know what, I can speak to this world, and also I can talk to this other segment or this other group. It is a big advantage, both personally but also in a business sense.
And when you said business sense, it just brought up a light bulb. Would you say that maybe perhaps that could be something, an element that helps you with that connection? With example, Giovanni Gallardo, because their Spanish is their main language, their first language. Is this something that maybe helps you get that connection with them?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, typically what I do when the Brewers the games are over, especially when they win, as you know, we're dealing with players who, some of them are 21, 22, and when they lose a game, they take it personal. I mean, they're upset. They don't want to talk to you. They're kind of, yeah. I mean, I don't want to say it sound derogatory, but they act like kids. So yeah. But when you go and speak in terms that they understand, and you put it in the cultural context of how they grew up, so yeah, they respond a lot quicker. So yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it where, because I've had the privilege of going into the locker room and watching this unfold, where for some reason they're very comfortable when you speak with them in their native language, and it almost feels like you're talking to a friend. And I'm watching you do these one-on-one interviews, and you sit down and you have this really great connection with them. Where unfortunately when you're interviewing them in English, I don't see that connection. I don't feel that they're comfortable. And I don't feel that they let their guard down. And with you, they laugh, they giggle, they talk. Sometimes they put their arms around you. I feel like that's a really nice advantage to have.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and you know what? To be honest with you, it's part of the story of many of these players that come from Latin America, whether it's Mexico, Panama, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, you name it. Most of them have the same story, the same narrative.
Okay.
Growing up sometimes in difficult situations, challenging environments where, baseball was that window, that opportunity that would help them make some money and buy mom her first home. So there's so many of those stories that when you dig deep and you try to understand them and you see where they come from,
Right.
they can relate to you, and that's how, you know, sometimes you start the conversation. That's how you use it as a trust building mechanism, asking them questions about what does it mean for you to be at this level when, you know what, just 7, 8 years ago you struggled to
Get there.
you know, to just find food. They understand that language. So that's how you work, that's how you relate to them, and then from there, you know, you're friends.
Your friends.
Yep.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Here's what I want to get to the bread and butter of this. How do students, these undergrads who are about to graduate, land such opportunities that you are currently in and are taking advantage of? How do we find such career opportunities?
For me, what worked was not to try to do everything.
Okay.
I said, I want to be good at something,
Okay.
and I'm going to focus on that. So in my house where I lived, and I lived in many different places in the
Okay.
Dominican, I relocated quite often in the Dominican Republic. I always focused on the broadcasting piece, whether it was news broadcasting, play-by-play announcing, boxing, baseball, basketball, and I would do these imaginary games.
Imaginary games. Can you give me an example of what that would be like?
Do you want it in Spanish? I
I
suspect.
want it in Spanish,
'Cause
yes, please.
in English, it wouldn't
make
make
sense.
a lot of sense.
Yeah. So can you give me a little example of how you do that?
Well, I would, you know, basically be in the back of my house
Okay.
and imagine, say, Carlos Gomez or Ryan Braun hitting a home run.
Okay.
And do you want the actual sound?
Yes, I do. I want it all.
and I would say something like, ahí está Ryan Braun en la caja de bateo, una bola, 2 strikes, el batazo alto, se va, en sintonía. So I would do that kind of stuff, but non-stop, all the time, rehearsing, watching other folks that I thought were models for what I wanted to do. So I didn't try to be the cameraman. I didn't try to be the producer, the floor director. I focus on that particular area, and through reading, working really hard. Again, that's what I would say. Focus on one thing and make sure that you are the very best you can be at that one thing, and you're going to get opportunities.
Well, yes, I would agree with that. And something that I've seen, what you've said right now, you've actually already applied. I don't know if you realize this with people that work around you. You are indirectly mentoring people on a day-to-day basis, because in the studio, I have seen you where you are comfortable with teaching, training, coaching individuals that are not comfortable in their delivery on a day-to-day, or maybe they're not comfortable delivering in another language, but yet you coach them, clean them, and, you know, launch them and give them that opportunity and say, don't be afraid to try it. Have you seen any growth in these particular individuals that you've worked with, or any individuals that you've worked with that you've seen when you started in La Jugada?
Well, when you came to the show, you were already set. And everybody can see that you got the talent to do this, obviously. But there
Thanks for sharing.
but we do get other folks that come to the station, and like you said, they feel a little bit uncomfortable, and it is normal, it is natural to be intimidated when you realize that there's thousands of people listening to you, and for the first time, or maybe not the first time, but you know, you're just starting and getting on the mic, even if you're not the host of the show, but you have something important. It's an important responsibility to talk to people and bring substance to the table. So as we were talking about earlier, what I encourage is to be natural. And I say, you know what? If you're having a conversation with a friend right now, what would you tell that friend? What would be important to you? Well, if you think that friend would pay attention to you and they would consider that important, that's what they are. They are people just like you, like me. So just be natural, have fun, prepare, and then let it out. Okay, let that fear, and you know, a little bit of fear, a little bit of nervousness is okay. You should always be a little bit nervous when you're in front of a camera, when you're talking to people, when you have a mic in your hands. I think that's respect for the audience or those who are viewing your work. But you have to overcome that and let talent speak for itself.
Well, I love that you're sharing that with us, and I think that a lot of the people around you are continuing to grow on a day-to-day, and hopefully with time, you'll see them taking the opportunities that you are actually holding today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And that's all we have time for today. Thank you for joining us. And you can check us out on pausetv3.com. Slam dunk.